the fans at Liverpool. Listen, you don't come back and win games like that without fans. It was the biggest relief in the world when I finally did come out and tell everybody, because I felt as though then there was a bit of hope. So listen, you'll have players that go through phases when they're playing that they're not doing what they were bought for, or they're struggling for whatever reason, but it's tough. Let each era and each player deserve every success they've got. But you can ask me the best I've played with, it's...
This is the Reds Down Under podcast, the best place to follow the Reds in Australia. Enjoy the show.
We are the Reds Down Under, and this is our podcast.
Chris Kirkland, thanks so much for coming on the podcast, mate. How you doing?
I'm really good at the minute, mate, yeah. Although it's tipping it down in England at the minute, so... But in general, yeah, really good, mate. Got a good routine, love what I do. Work-wise, got a lot of variety, so it's different each week, which is great. But I'm steady at the minute, mate. I'm 7 out of 10, which is, from where I was, is really good.
Yeah, 7 out of 10, mate. You'll absolutely take that. We'll get into it all. We're going to talk about Chris's football career. Obviously, play for Liverpool, play for Wigan, Sheffield Wednesday, Preston as well, I think. England as well on that list. So we'll talk about Chris's playing career. We'll talk about mental health as well. Chris is a massive advocate for good mental health and looking at the challenges that we all sometimes face. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. And Chris has got a new book coming out, so we'll definitely touch on that as well. Chris, I'd love to start with a question, mate, from one of our regular followers, Big Rig.
Yeah.
He said, as a Liverpool fan, when you got the chance to put on that shirt for the first time, what was that like, mate?
Well, I mean, it was a dream come true for me, because I stood on the Kop as a kid, so with my dad. So we were from Leicester. But as soon as I seen the red candy kit around the 88-89 season, that was me. So all my family were Leicester, but when my mum and dad could afford it, which wasn't very often, we used to get the supporters bus up to Liverpool from Hinckley. So I stood on the Kop as a kid, and then, to play for the team that you supported as a boy, nothing beats that. That's the highlight of my career, and was very lucky to do that and to still be involved with the club in an ambassador role with the foundation at the minute, and to still do the games as well and go to Anfield. It's, Liverpool's been part of my life, what now, for 37 years or something like that. So it's a special club. But yeah, it was a dream come true when I made my debut. Didn't go to plan, but we lost 2-1 against Grimsby, and it was just about to go to a penalty shootout in it. So it was extra time, injury time and extra time. I'm thinking, my word, my debut, penalty shootout, chance to be a hero in front of the Kop, and then I conceded probably the best goal I've ever conceded from Phil Jevons. But yeah, it was a dream come true, and something I'm very proud of to this day.
Was that in the League or FA Cup?
It was in the Worthington Cup.
That one?
Yeah, it was in the Worthington Cup. So yeah, it was at Anfield against Grimsby.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that well as a fan. We'll leave that one there. So when you started, I heard that when you originally started playing football, you didn't play as a goalkeeper. Then you moved into the position at a slightly older age. Who were the goalkeepers? Who were the players who you looked up to as a kid?
Yeah, you're right. I was an outfield player, so I was never any good. I was always mostly on the bench as an outfielder for Sunday League, play for my school. And then it wasn't until I was about 13, 14, when I was on the bench as an outfielder and the goalkeeper got injured, and the manager said, look, you're going to have to go in goal. We've got no one else. So I did, and then it just, so it was by accident, really. I started in goal, and then 4 years later, I was playing in the Premier League. So it was quite a rapid rise. But I mean, growing up, as I say, I was an outfielder. So the players that I was looking at was like outfield players, so like John Barnes, all these Peter Beardsley, all the top players, particularly Liverpool players. Ian Rush. But then when I went into goal, I think that probably the first one was Stevie Grizovic, because I started to train with Coventry on a Wednesday evening when I was 14, 15. So, struck up a relationship with him, and obviously knew he was the first choice keeper at Coventry, so followed him, watched his patterns, watched what he did. And then when I signed for the youth team at 16, we lived on site at the Wrightington Lodge where the Coventry City first team trained. So we see them every single day. We lived at the training ground. So then it was just watching him, watching the way he conducts himself, the way he works, the hardest worker I've ever seen, but also so humble with it as well, and just a brilliant guy. So yeah, it was definitely Oggy, and I was lucky I had a brilliant goalie coach as well when I was there, and Jim Blythe. So I was around some real experienced pros as well at Coventry when up from a young age. Gary McAllister was there, Dion Dublin, David Burrows, Brian Burrows. So I was lucky from an early age that I had some amazing players to watch and to see how they, not just on the field but off the field as well. But yeah, Oggy was the first one, and someone I speak to still to this day.
With Oggy, obviously it sounds like you had like a brilliant mentor. How important is it in the work that you do now that you look at to be a good role model and to help people find good role models? Because I think sometimes it's half the battle, mate.
It is, but like I said, I was very for Gordon Strachan was my manager. So I was around people. Harry Roberts was the youth team coach. We had Trevor Peake, who, so like I say, from 16 up until I moved to Liverpool, I was around great people, particularly at Coventry, but then also when I was at Blackburn Weston, we had Nick Pearce and Paul Dannon. Paul Dannon used to be an ex-referee. So I've always been lucky that I've been around great coaches that do it for the players and not for themselves. There's a lot of coaches these days that think it's all about them. And listen, I had great parents as well that took me here, there, and everywhere. But with the coaches, I was lucky. I didn't have one coach that was an idiot, basically. And made it all about them, like we see every single day in grassroots football these days. The coaches, the parents, they're destroying the game for the kids. So as I say, I was very lucky. I was around some brilliant people, great footballers, but more real good people that still are to this day and still speak to them to this day. So I've seen that and thought, that's the way you got to be as a human, because you never know when you're going to need help off people. And if you've been an idiot to someone, or and they won't give you the time of day. So I've always tried to be as open as I can and always try to help people throughout my career as well. So I took that on when I went to different clubs. When I was at Wigan, I was made captain, I was in the dressing room. So I tried to behave and act like those players that showed me when I was 16, and it's something I've always tried to do, but not just on the field as well, on the play. It was off the field as well, which is what I've really needed the last 10, 12 years or so.
This is a Reds Down Under announcement for all supporters. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on TikTok, Facebook and Instagram, give us a review on Spotify, Apple and Amazon. Thank you. What's the big changes in the time since you played? We said before we started recording, I used to play in goal as well. And it was very rare, actually, that even any of my coaches at a young level would really talk about how important it was for a goalkeeper to be good with their feet. The game seems to have completely changed, mate. Is that what you're seeing with the coaching that you're doing?
No, listen, the fundamentals for me, I've got my own goalie academy and I do bits and bobs through the foundation, but the fundamentals for me is to keep the ball out of the net. That's the most important thing. I think we're starting to see it swing back a little bit more now. We went through a phase where all the managers wanted to play out from the back and take risks. I don't think we're seeing that as much these days now. Some teams do, but you look at Arsenal, they go long, City go long a lot. We go long as well. So I think it's starting to flip back a little bit because they were getting caught out too much. But I was always okay with my feet. I played outfield. I was always comfortable. But yeah, things have changed now. But listen, it comes down to the manager. If the manager, whoever you're playing for, if he wants you to play out from the back and take risks, then you're going to do it. If you don't, he'll get somebody else in. We've seen that probably at City when Guardiola come in and Joe Hart was there. He got rid of Joe Hart. He was a brilliant servant for City and brought Edison in and completely changed the way goalkeeping went. You look at Edison when he played at City. He went long a lot of times. So yeah, fundamentals for me, though, keep the ball out of the net, and that's what I try and tell the kids. If it's on to play, do it. But if it's a risky one, don't take the risk. Don't take the risk. But yeah, keep that ball out of the net. That's the most important thing. That's what wins your league titles. Defensively, clean sheets, the best defensive record in the league, or the top two tend to win the league each season.
Mate, so you're playing in that Coventry City team, and Liverpool come knocking on the door. Was it an easy decision for you to go to Liverpool, being a Liverpool fan?
It was in that respect, yeah, because I had offers to go to. I was only, I broke in the team when I was 18, 19 at Coventry. There was talk for a while, but then when Liverpool come, because I supported them, it was only going to be that team. I had offers to other teams, but the only thing I wasn't nervous about moving to Liverpool, because when you're a youngster, you're fearless. Nothing fazed me when I was young. I think it's when you get older and you slow down a little bit. That's when you start to think about the game, particularly when you get over 30 and your body's not quite the same and your reaction's not quite the same. But I was fearless when I was young, but it was more the fact of leaving home. So I've always been a home person from Leicester, obviously. And I thought, leaving on the family and friends and to move up to Liverpool. But the best thing I had was I had my girlfriend, my wife now, and we've lived up here ever since. So I think it could have gone a lot different, and it could have gone a different way if I'd have moved up on my own. I'd have still moved, I think, even if I was on my own. But having somebody with me to come on that, to come up to Liverpool and be there when I'm home from training and stuff like that, made it definitely a lot easier. But the club are brilliant as well. As soon as you move, they can't do enough for you. They look after you. They help you find a house. They help you. Leona went and volunteered in a few disability schools, and she was helping out that way as well. So they proper look after you.
I was going to ask you about that, Chris, because I know it's definitely always a conversation that I hear former players saying about when they retire from the game and how good the club are with keeping former players in and around the club and keeping the culture of the club. People talk about the Liverpool way, but people in the media always talk about the Liverpool way. It's the Liverpool way of doing things. What does that mean? What does that mean as a player? What is the sort of culture around the club on a daily basis?
I mean, listen, I'm not directly. I mean, we are at match day, so you got all the the proper players, proper legends that still go to the game. Ian Callaghan's record appearance holder, Phil Neal, most decorated player. You got all these players that still do Q&As and go around the lounge on match days. But I just think that a lot of players, when they move to the Northwest, particularly Merseyside, they end up staying after their careers. And we certainly have. This is our home now. We've lived here 24 years, and it always will be our home. It's just a special place. I think you've got to buy into the city. You see a lot of. You've got to. The people of Liverpool want you to love their football club, yes, but they also want you to love the city as well. And we just love the place. We love going out into Liverpool and walking around. Some amazing places. But yeah, the people of Liverpool, they will give it you back if they know that you care about the club and the city. They're the best supporters in the world.
Well, on the flip side, let me ask you the flip side, Chris, because look, I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm born and bred Liverpool, and we had a season ticket in the Cup before we moved to Australia and all that. I think we're the best supporters in the world. You don't have to sort of name players if this was the situation, but was there ever players in the dressing room who struggled to deal with the intensity of the fan base?
I mean, listen, it's not, you'd see players that would struggle on the pitch, whether that's to do with that or the pressure and stuff like that. But I mean, Liverpool, it's not just in Liverpool. Liverpool is a club all over the world. The fan base it's got all over the world just shows what an amazing club it is and why people love supporting them. So, listen, you'll have players that go through phases when they're playing that they're not doing what they were bought for, or they're struggling for whatever reason. But it's tough. Listen, I've always said, when you come to Liverpool, if you're not from the country and you're moving to a different country, it's so hard, and people don't realise that. It can take time to adjust. It's not just you that's moving most of the time. You bring your family over. Can your family adjust off the pitch? Can they, get used to the city they're living in? So, I mean, I didn't. I had a couple of maybe opportunities to go, but I never pursued it because I thought I couldn't move abroad. I'm too much of a home person. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. Why players struggle, why they don't live up to the hype. But I don't think there's been too many over the years, to be honest. I don't think there's been too many that that have struggled. But there is players, but there's a lot of reasons behind that. But the one thing that you can't, if it's purely down to attitude and they're not trying, then that's an issue. But fans can sniff that out straight away. If a player's trying his hardest, and if a player's trying his hardest and things are not going his way, you can forgive that because that's just human nature. But yeah, what fans won't forgive and what teammates won't forgive is when a player's not doing what he's meant to be doing because his attitude's poor. And there has been players like that over the years. There is at every club, but I think at Liverpool, you don't get many of them at all.
Yeah, I think it's. I can imagine it being an amazing place to play as a footballer, Anfield, especially as a Liverpool fan. But the standards are so high. We really do want blood, sweat, and tears out of our players.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about Gérard Houllier, Chris. Obviously he was the manager when you joined the club. We lost him a couple of years ago now, didn't we? What sort of man was Gérard?
I owe him everything. He's living my dream. But he was just, I think what the thing that stood out for me straight away was when I signed, it was nearly deadline day, so we caught the night before. And then the following morning was the Friday. Now, it was international weekend, so there was no games. So Gérard had gone home to France on the Thursday or the Wednesday or the Thursday, I think it was, because they give the players a few days off. And he come home to, so Phil Thompson picked me and Leona up from the hotel. And he said, "I will just go make a quick stop." And he drove to the airport. And I was thinking, bloody hell, I've not even signed yet, and sending me back to Leicester. But the door opened and Gérard Houllier got in. And he just said, and I was told he was back in France. Like I say, no, he'd love to be here, but he's gone back. It's the international base. He's gone back to see his family, because all his family lived in France. But he flew home just to come and oversee the signing. So he said, "I wanted to come and see you. I wanted to come and see Leona, just to make sure, we grabbed some food." And then he flew back out to France after I'd signed. But I think that just shows, a lot of managers wouldn't do that. So we literally flew home for one day to come and oversee the signing of me and Jersey, and then flew back to France, which just speaks volumes of the man. But he cared more, not just about you, but he was always asking how the owner was, our partners were, our wives were, how your kids were. He was just a real special guy and a brilliant manager. His meetings were superb. Every word he said, you used to just hang on to every word he used to say in meetings. I was lucky to play under him and say he gave me my dream. I was at his when we lost him a few years ago. I was at his. It was during that COVID time, so there was only he was at Anfield. He had a memorial thing for him, like a tribute to him, and there was only about 50, 60 people allowed to go, and I was lucky enough to be one of those people, and because I wanted to pay my respects for what he did for me when I was at the club and how he was with my family as well.
I mean, Gérard, after a difficult period for the club in some ways under Roy Evans. I think we won the League Cup under Roy. We got beaten in the FA Cup final. And Gérard came in and, we won the treble. Then we won the League Cup the year after that. And essentially it was his team, wasn't it? In Istanbul with a couple of signings as well. Absolute legend of the club. Gérard, he brought yourself and Yeti in on the same day. How does that work? Because I know, obviously, if you're a goalkeeper, there's only one position on the pitch. Was that a strange situation to know that he was signing two keepers on the same day?
No, so he told us. So I think I only heard it a few months ago, but I think they were trying to get one of us, and then the deal was breaking down. They were trying to get Jersey, and they were trying to get me, and there was complications around each deal. So it was getting close to deadline day, and I think it was Phil Thompson just said, and the board just went, "Look, we need keepers, so why don't we just sign both of them?" So I don't think it's ever been done before, but got the call to say, "Listen, we're signing both of you together." So both of us knew about it. And he was great. He just rang me and said, "Look, we're going to sign Jersey as well. He's going to come in as number one. You're going to come in as number two. Learn from him, learn from the players, and when you're ready, you'll play." Simple as that. And he was true to his word. It's just when I first started training with Jersey, I thought, bloody hell, I'm never going to get in here, because he was just unreal. In training, he saved everything. And in games, he was just, I was thinking, wow, this is going to take some shifting, but learning from him, we used to room together in Jersey as well. He was a great guy. and he was perfect for me at that time. So just when I did get in, unfortunately, I got some serious injuries, which knocked the stuffing out of us. But yeah, we knew about the move, and Gerard was upfront and honest, and yeah, but it wasn't going to stop us signing from.
Was it? Did you get brought in the team after the Man United game with the Forlan goal? Is that what happened? And he pulled
So
Yeti
yeah, so
out?
we obviously played cup games and bits and bobs like that, and a few Champions League games, and then Jersey. Yeah, so we played that game against United, and then he actually played after that game. He was distraught. But we had a game on the Tuesday or the Wednesday in the cup, I think it was, and Gerard pulled us both in after and said, "Look, Jersey, I want you to play on Wednesday just to get that out of your system." But he says, "Chris, you're going to be in again. I think it's Charlton away, because you're going to get a run of games now." So yeah, but I think what he did with that with Jersey was brilliant. So Jersey played midweek. I think we won. Sure, we won. And then I started playing then at the weekend, starting away at Charlton. But things like that were class, like, because if you come out of the team then, and listen, it could have gone a different way. Jersey could have played that midweek and made another mistake, but he didn't. And I just think that shows how Gerard was thinking. And I know Jersey really, really appreciated that.
So you get yourself a run of games in that season, then you get injured. How difficult's that, mate? You're finding your feet, you're playing consistent games, and then you're getting injured. Was your head battered with that?
That was sort of, yeah, but it wasn't like, people talk about injury prone and stuff like that. It was just unlucky. Injury prone is the way you pull the same muscle, you pull the same calf, all the time or whatever. But it was just unlucky. It was just collisions. I got running the side, and then we were down at Crystal Palace. I slid out for 1-on-1 with Dele Alabola, and he's a big boy, like, and we went knee to knee, and I come off the worst and did my cruciate. So it was just in training I broke my wrist. Harry Kewell hit one from about 3 yards. The ref had it was the training session was stopped, and he just hit a ball. I've reacted, broke my wrist. So it was just it was just what it was. It was just unlucky. When I left Liverpool, I was fine. I'd had any injuries, and my fitness record was as good as anybody's. But yeah, it was all right. But at the time, you're young, and you just think, well, you'll be back, and you get back. But then obviously, the older you get, those serious injuries, they start to catch up with you a little bit, and you're not quite the same. Sorry, mate, my things fell over. Yeah, you're not quite the same. But yeah, at Liverpool, it was a real shame. Yeah, the injuries were. That's my biggest regret. But listen, I still play for the club I support as a boy, and I'm always be grateful for that.
Yeah, it's tough, that, mate, isn't it? Because I know you're saying that you regret it, but it's completely out of your hands, isn't it?
That's what I mean. It
It's,
was just unlucky. It was just unlucky. But listen, you get labels. This is the world we're living in. It People will always have their opinions on things, but I know I couldn't have done anything else. I was doing everything right. I was looking after myself. I wasn't bringing the injuries on. It was just unlucky. That's the way the world is.
Yeah, man. And let's not forget as well, you were competing with a guy, Yeti, there, who I think for Yeti it was really difficult after that period, after that Forlan goal. I think you could see as a fan, Chris, it really did knock him.
It did. I think he admits that himself. It was. It did. I don't think he was quite the same after that. And I think Jersey admit that himself. And then obviously not long after that he left as well, and Pepe Reina come in, and Scott Carson's been keepers. But yeah, I mean, only keepers know what that would have felt like. It was yeah. To have that happen to you, it's the worst feeling in the world, and it takes some coming back, especially against anyone. It's tough, but against United, and how big that game is, it's all over the world. So it was really tough for him.
Yeah, well, thankfully, mate, Yeti had his night in Istanbul, didn't he? So everyone but me, I think, forgets all that. The dressing room, mate, absolute massive characters in there in the time you were there. Sammy, Cara, Stevie in there as well. What's it like sharing a dressing room with those sort of players?
Well, I sat next to Cara, so I was 22, he was 23. But yeah, listen, those lads know what it means to play for Liverpool. Stevie was the heartbeat for many, many years, and so was Cara. Local lads to play for one team for 17 odd years. You've got to be a damn good player and but also his standards every day have got to be up there. So, but yeah, there was. I mean, the dressing room was Sammy Hippi, the best defender I've ever played with. Stefan Encho, those two were the best partnership I've ever played with. There was some real top players in that dressing room. And you have to get up. I was good, but I was still behind them when I went, and you have to quickly get up to speed. Because Coventry players were some brilliant players, but you move to a club like Liverpool, and the tempo goes up, everything goes up a notch or two. So you have to quickly adapt to that. But it made me a better goalkeeper playing with those players and training with those players.
How much of a training session for a keeper at Liverpool at that time would have been involved with the rest of the squad, or were you and Yeti and the keeper coach basically off doing your own thing all day?
Well, yeah, that's still. I mean, I think it's. Yeah, I mean, that's always been. So you usually got 45, 50 minutes. Keepers always go out early as well. So if the manager said, look, we need them earlier today, or we need them after 15, 20 minutes, we'll always go out earlier. So we'd like to get at least 45, 50 minutes to keep working. But Joe Corrigan was brilliant goalie coach. So keepers have always worked the hardest. So, he was proper guy, Joe, and made sure he worked us. And then you'd go over to the team. But some managers are different. When Rafa come in and he brought a different goalie coach, and it was completely different. So, we'd be with the team pretty much straight away. Wouldn't get that much goalkeeping in, which started to have a big effect on me personally. So yeah, it's different. It just depends on different managers. But in general, your keepers go out and they'll have 45, 50 minutes together before you go over to the team.
Mate, Istanbul. Let's talk about that season. You played at the early stages of the competition, didn't you?
Yeah, so my last game I think was against Olympiacos, obviously where Stevie scored that goal, Cop end. So yeah, and then I think I played against Everton at the weekend, and then I had to have a back operation, so I was out for a while. But I was in Istanbul. Delighted, you mentioned it before there. Delighted for Jersey, because yeah, that was for him to do that. I think everybody at the club was delighted for what he did, and all the players as well. Obviously, the penalty shootout was his chance to shut a few people up, which he did. But yeah, it was an incredible night. We was out there. I was out there with Leo, and there was a lot of all the squad was out there, players and wives, and even the ones that weren't involved. We were all out there as a team. So yeah, it was just. I mean, I don't think you'll ever see a game like that again, particularly in the Champions League final.
Unbelievable game. Craig, I seen in another podcast that you did that you said at a half time to Neil Mellor that you thought that Liverpool would come back.
I did. Well, I just thought after the Olympiacos game, the way we come back and then things are written in the stars sometimes. And I just thought, even at 3-0 down, I was thinking it's not over yet. And yeah, I mean, I think everyone thought I was balmy, including Mel's, but I just had a feeling that I kept going back to that Olympiacos game and thinking, yeah, we're not out of this. We're not out of this at all. And listen, as I said, I think a lot of it might have been hope as well and dreaming a little bit, but yeah, thankfully it come off.
That season, Chris, we had obviously Istanbul, the final itself. The Chelsea semi-final was an unbelievable night at Anfield. We beat Juventus as well. Olympiacos, they were all bonkers nights at Anfield.
That's what I mean. What I mean. You get nights like that and you're thinking, you get 3-1 and then you get through it and you're thinking, I believe in things are written in the stars, and that's why I thought we still got a chance here.
Yeah. Is the atmosphere something that's openly talked about in the dressing room, or is it just sort of try and shut it off as much as possible?
What in regards to outside noise or?
Yeah, the fans, the cops,
The fans at Liverpool. Listen, you don't come back and win games like that without the fans. Simple as that. We've seen over the years. You mentioned the Barcelona game not so long ago as well. Those comebacks don't happen without brilliant fans. When you're on the pitch at Anfield, you can feel yourself being pushed towards the goal, or particularly Cop end, you can feel yourself being sucked towards the Cop end because the fans are that desperate. But yeah, the comebacks don't happen without fans. In Istanbul, I think we have 3/4 of the ground, didn't we? If we didn't, then you probably don't come back. But the fans at half time started singing "You'll Never Walk Alone." A lot of fans at other clubs would have walked out and gone back to the hotels or whatever. But Liverpool fans are different that way, and all the success over the years are down to the Liverpool fans. Because, yes, the players on the pitch, but they react and respond to what the fans do and give you. And the fans at Liverpool just, those wins, they earn them wins just as much as the players did on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't in Istanbul, but I was there for the Barca game, the 4-0, and we were in the boozer before the game talking about how we were going to fly to Madrid for the final, which is bizarre, but that's just the mentality of it, isn't it? It was we're going to go and beat these tonight.
Well, because it's been done before. Because Liverpool have come back before, and we've seen it at Anfield many times before. So yeah, I mean, before that game, you're thinking, well, you'd think Barcelona would score at least one goal. So you're thinking, we're going to need to score 4 or 5 here. But again, the atmosphere in that ground. I was there that night with the girls, and I've never witnessed anything. That's up there with the best atmosphere I've ever seen. And again, if you didn't have that atmosphere and you didn't have the fans, you don't come back and beat Barcelona.
Absolutely, mate. Got a question for you from Jack, who is my brother. He normally does the pods with me, but he's up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. So I'm on my own. But he's asked, is it true that you gave Scott Carson your Istanbul Champions League medal?
No. So he offered me his. So it was the other way around because I didn't get one. There was a few of us that didn't get them, or there was a few medals that went missing, or what. I don't know how it was. There was so many people on the pitch at the end. I think a few shoved a few in their pocket. So I never ended up getting one. So Scotty come up to me and said, "Look, you more than played the part. You did more than me. I have my medal, but I couldn't take it off him. I mean, he was there. The finals are one-off unique game, but he's just a great guy, Scotty, and someone I've always got on with. But yeah, I couldn't take it off him. But no, it's the other way around. He offered me his medal. Gérard Houllier did the same. So in the World Cup final against it was at United, was it? Where we beat them. I played in every round before it, semi-final, every single game. And then I did my cruciate against Palace. So I missed the final. And only I think it was 16, so I think there was only 5 subs, or it could have been 18, 7 subs. Only the match day squad got medals for the final. So on the pitch after, Gérard Houllier said, "Listen, I want you to have my medal." So he gave me his medal. Again, that just shows what Gérard Houllier was like as a person. But yeah, Champions League one, Scotty offered me his, but I said no.
Absolute legend. And Scotty had an absolutely cracking game against Juve, didn't he?
Oh, he did, yeah.
In the quarter-final, I think it was. He was fantastic. Chris, question from Will. He's a Scouser living out in Brisbane, I think. Did you have any goalie superstitions, mate?
So I did weirdly. Yeah, I did. I always put my left boot on first and my left glove. And I always used to drive the same way to training or to games. Yeah, it was weird. When I was at games, I used to go out at the same time to warm up. So it'd be about 2:05 if it was a 3 o'clock kickoff. So I always used to go out 55 minutes before. But yeah, I weren't. Yeah, left shin pad, left boot, left glove first. I don't know why. It never worked. Even if I let I'd still let goals in, or I'd still do it the next time. But yeah, just little things like that. I always used to drive the same way, unless there was a road shut or anything like that. I'd always go the same way. But you could go multiple ways to train at Liverpool and at Wigan, but I always used to go the same way.
It makes sense though, because we're all creatures of habit, aren't we? You know what I mean? And that makes life a little bit easier, like, and things that you haven't got to think about. Why not? Chris, I'd love to talk to you about mental health. It's something that we talk about all the time, mate, on this podcast.
Cool.
And I always try and be really, really open about it as well. There's been times in the last couple of years that I've really struggled with my mental health. Sort of, felt in a hole, felt like I can't get out of the hole. And I was quite lucky that I had people around me who helped me get out the hole. When you started having struggles with your mental health, you were still playing, is that right?
Yeah, sorry to hear that about yourself, mate. Yeah, it was. It was just around the change of routine. So I mean, when we moved up here, 2001, I was at Liverpool 5 years, Wigan 6 years, same area, same house, 15 minutes to and from both clubs, and then the daughter come along in 2006. So I could drop her off to nursery, pick her up. Then when she started going to school, I could do all that and all the important stuff. But then when I moved to Sheffield Wednesday, I was commuting because we didn't want to move. So I was missing everything that I'd done for the previous 11 years. So my routine had completely changed. The football was still the same, but life was different. And I was missing, I started to really struggle with that. And I was anxious when I was leaving the house. I just wasn't enjoying it. And the first year I could concentrate on the football, but after that, then it became really difficult. And then obviously I got involved with painkillers, which become an addiction for the next 10 years, and completely took over my life and the family's life as well. So, but yeah, the biggest, people say shouldn't have regrets. My biggest one is not asking for help, not telling someone. Back in 2012, back in 2016 when I retired through mental health, back in 2019 when I went to rehab and didn't tell people the real reason. And it wasn't until 3.5 years ago when I did come out and tell people the real reason and how much I did struggle. But that was 10 years too late. So yeah, I always now whenever I do things or whenever I go talks, I always say, listen, that's my biggest regret, not speaking up before and not asking for help before. And that's why I tell people to do now, as hard as it is. And it is hard, to admit you're struggling with something or admit you're having certain feelings, or particularly around addiction as well. You don't want to do it sometimes. We think, oh, they're going to think of me. But I'll tell everyone now, it doesn't matter what the situation is, how bad things are, reach out to someone, else it can totally consume you. And it did for me for over 10 years. And listen, I wouldn't have got through it without, my family of friends and my wife and my daughter, colleagues. And when I did, it was the biggest relief in the world when I finally did come out and tell everybody, because I felt as though then there was a bit of hope, and still not over. It still doesn't take things away. You still have shit days and still a lot of work to be done. But that's the first step. And people always say, when I do talks, and what's the two best things you can do? And I always say, same as everybody else. Everybody else says the same thing: exercise and talking about things. And everyone says, well, everyone always says that, but it's true. It's the two best things you can do. I'd say it doesn't fix things, it doesn't take things away or whatever you're feeling, but it can just give you that little bit of hope that you can get through things.
What for you was the reason that at the time in 2012 and and then 2016, what was the reason that you didn't feel comfortable going out and reaching out to someone for support?
Well, I think times are changing. I think back then, what we're talking, 13, 14 years, it wasn't as talked about, was it? It's always been there. It's always been there for years and years and years and years. But I think it's only been probably the last 5 years, particularly since COVID, where, like you said, you do a lot on this podcast, you turn the TV on, the radio's on, there's people talking about it every single day. But I don't know. I think I knew what I was doing was wrong, particularly with the addiction. And I knew the way I was feeling was not right, but for whatever reason, people don't sometimes. And I didn't, I didn't want to worry people, probably didn't want to worry my wife or my daughter, didn't want to burden with it. Did I think at the football? Listen, if I'd have turned around to the football and they've said that to me now, Sheffield Wednesday, or why didn't you tell us would have helped you? But at the time, you just don't do things. I don't know why I didn't. I didn't want to stop, I suppose, as well, the addiction then. I think it was more to the addiction. When you're addicted to something, it completely overtakes you and it lies to you and it makes you do things that are wrong, but you just can't stop doing it. And when nobody knows, the addiction knows that as well. It knows nobody knows. It knows it's going to control you, and it does. And it's not until like I said, when I completely opened up about the addiction side of stuff, that's when you can fight back against the addiction, because you've got people that can help you do that.
Is it like the most unbelievable just weight off your shoulders? How would you describe it when you got help?
Oh, mate, yeah, it was just knowing I wasn't hiding things anymore as well. Knowing I wasn't, it was just, and knowing that I could beat it, but it was still going to, like I said, when I come out, it wasn't the end of it. It was only the start then, and then you have to put things in place to try and beat it, because addiction, once you've had it, and particularly over a long period of time, it's always in the back of your head. Like, it's always in the back of my head now. you watch programs. We're watching a program at the minute called Trigger Point. I don't know if you've seen it. It's on ITV, and she's addicted to painkillers, and it brings memories back and stuff. But because what we've got set up now, like the drug test at home, we've had them the last 3.5 years. They've been the best things we've ever done. So knowing they're there, knowing people know, knowing I can't get away with it. We've rang the doctors and told the doctors that I can't ring up anymore and ask for anything. It has to be through my wife. If I need, I can't take anything now. The only thing I can take is paracetamol. So it takes a lot to do to beat addiction. But if you're willing to do it, and I needed to, also, listen, I'd have been dead. They were going to kill me eventually. I was taking that many that it was going to kill me. That, people say all about alcohol and stuff. Well, if you're addicted to alcohol, get a breathalyzer at home. If you give your partner a breathalyzer, get them to breathalyzer every day. If you need to stop, you've got to put every measure in place to stop. And we've done that now, thankfully, and it's worked for the last 3.5 years. You never say never. I'd like to think now, though, that because we've got things set up, that I'd never go back to that. But you can never say never, but I'm more confident now than ever because of the support I've got and what we've got set up.
Thanks for telling me about that, Chris. Thanks for opening up, mate. I think it's really important for people to hear, mate, because I know we're better now. I think we're a lot better now about talking about mental health and men's mental health as well. I think that we're definitely moving in the right direction, but I think there's so much taboo about it.
There always will be, though, mate. There always will be. There always will be. Because listen, and there always will be that, because that's just the world we live in. People are quick to shoot people down, or say they're only saying it for this reason or for that reason. But I don't think I'll ever go away. But it is certainly a lot better now, and I think businesses and employers are starting to really care about their employees now and put things in place. I do a lot of talking businesses now that have completely changed the way they run things in businesses for their employees. You'll still get some that don't care, and you'll still get some that are old school and just say, get on with it, or, whatever. But I think in general now it is starting to swing, because listen, the world we live in at the minute is just, it gives me anxiety every single day about, you read stuff on the news, and I know you shouldn't do sometimes, but the world is a different place to what it was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. It's completely changed.
Yeah, and it's only going to keep going that way, isn't it?
Unfortunately,
everything's on your phone. You can't get away from anything anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? And as a footballer as well, obviously there's always been a lot of pressure on footballers. There always has been. And you always had, say, the newspaper, print media and stuff would always get after footballers. But, mate, I know you're on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I'm on social media for the podcast. And I see some absolutely horrendous things written about people. So I can only imagine what it's like to be the person who has all the eyeballs on it. Must be a lot of pressure as well. Chris, you got a new book out, mate?
My only new book, my one and only book. Yeah, it's the one and only one I've been doing. So yeah, it's called Keeping Quiet. So, or Keeping It Quiet. But yeah, I wouldn't have probably done it. But I've been asked a few times, and listen, my career was okay. It wasn't stand out or anything like that, but compared to other players. So if it was just for that reason, I wouldn't have done it. But I've done it for the other stuff as well. More so the other stuff, around the addiction and mental health and all that sort of stuff. So because there is a story there to tell, and thankfully I'm still here to tell it. I've done it for that reason as well, and probably more than anything else. And obviously, listen, there's all family stuff in there, football from every club. And then obviously the stuff that's been going on since 2012 and up until now, really. That's probably the main reason I wanted to do it. So yeah, it's out November the 17th. So what's out? Week tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah,
Monday the 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see, mate. So I've got a few things lined up. So doing some signing sessions at Sheffield Wednesday, Coventry, Liverpool, hopefully. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. So yeah, it's not completely different, but it's not like your high profile, some of the books that you see come out, like Stevie G's or anything like that. But it's a different kind of story for me. But obviously everything else, it's just honest. It's got everything in there. We've not left anything out at all. Everything's in there. So yeah, we've got some amazing people I didn't even realise that have spoken it as well and said a few bits and bobs. So yeah, it should be a good read for people, hopefully.
There you go, Red. 17th of November, have a look at Chris's new book. We'll put a link in the show notes as well, Chris, so people can find it directly from there.
Cheers, mate.
Before we go, mate, I'll ask you this question, just as a Liverpool fan. Who's the greatest player you've ever seen in a red shirt?
It's hard, that, isn't it? That's a horrible question.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I get asked these all the time, like, what team would this team beat that team? And it's not. It's let each era and each player deserve every success they've got. But if you can ask me the best I've played with, it's Steven Gerrard. Yeah, he's the best I've played. Is he the best that's ever played for Liverpool? I'm not going to answer that because I didn't play with the other players. I only saw them, and there's eras and legends from over the years that, you know, deserve everything they got because of what they did. So, but for me, in playing with, Steven, definitely.
Brilliant. I'd tend to agree with you on Stevie, mate. Absolute legend, and he could just take a game on his own and go and win a football match. And I've never seen a bloke like it do it. Chris Kirkland, thanks very much for coming on Reds Down Under, mate. Was it all right?
Lovely, mate. Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for having us on.
We are the Reds Down Under, and this is our podcast.